Why trying to control everything is actually making you miserable. Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Today, we're going to dive deep into something that affects all of us, whether we realize it or not. It's something that silently messes with our happiness, our peace of mind, and our ability to enjoy life. And here's the crazy part, most of us don't even know we're doing it. You see, we're constantly trying to control everything: our lives, our relationships, our careers, even the way people see us. But what if I told you that this need for control is actually the root of your misery? Now, right off the bat, you might be thinking, wait, what? But if I don't control things, my life will fall apart. Trust me, I get it. We've all been there. We think that by managing every little detail, we're preventing chaos. But here's the truth: the more we try to control, the more we stress, the more anxious we become, and the more we distance ourselves from the one thing we truly want: happiness. Let's break this down logically. Think about the last time something didn't go your way. Maybe you had a plan and life just threw a curveball at you. How did you react? Most of us double down on control. We try to fix, force, and manipulate the situation to get it back on track. But here's the problem: life isn't something we can always control. In fact, most of life is unpredictable. The weather changes, people change, circumstances change. And when we cling to the belief that we can control everything, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. Here's a question for you: how often do you feel stressed out because things didn't go the way you expected? And how much of that stress is self-imposed, because you believed you could have prevented the unexpected? The truth is, we live in this illusion that if we just try hard enough, we can make everything turn out the way we want. But no matter how much effort we put in, life has its own plans, and our need to control everything only amplifies our misery when things inevitably go wrong. Let's look at this from a philosophical perspective. In ancient philosophy, particularly from thinkers like the Stoics, there's a concept called the dichotomy of control. This idea is simple but profound. There are things in life that are within our control, and there are things that aren't. The Stoics believed that the key to a peaceful life is focusing only on what we can control and accepting everything else as it is. But here's where we screw up: we try to control things that are clearly outside of our control. We want to control how people feel about us, how the future unfolds, or how perfectly things align with our expectations. And then, when things don't turn out the way we imagined, we feel this sense of failure, as if we're responsible for the chaos. But we're not responsible for everything. We can't be. The weather doesn't care about your plans. Other people's feelings aren't something you can change. And the future? It's always going to be uncertain.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
So why do we do this? Why do we insist on controlling everything when it only leads to stress and disappointment? Psychologically, it makes sense. Control gives us the illusion of safety. When we feel like we're in control, we feel like we're protecting ourselves from pain, from failure, from unpredictability. But that's all it is: an illusion. Because the truth is, no matter how much we try, we aren't in control of most things. And that's okay. Here's another deep question for you: what would happen if you let go of the need to control everything? How much lighter would you feel if you stopped trying to manage every outcome and simply allowed life to unfold naturally? It's scary, I know, but it's also incredibly freeing. Think about it. When we let go of control, we stop resisting life. We stop fighting against the current of reality, and in doing so, we open ourselves up to a different kind of power: the power of acceptance. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent to life. It means we become adaptable. We flow with life rather than against it. And when we do this, we realize that many of the things we were stressed about weren't as important as we thought. Now, this brings us to a crucial point. Letting go of control doesn't mean letting go of responsibility. There's a big difference between the two. We still take responsibility for our actions, our decisions, and the things that are within our control. But we stop trying to control the outcomes. We stop trying to control other people, or external circumstances, or the unknown future. Instead, we focus on the one thing we truly have power over: ourselves. So, the next time you find yourself stressing out because things aren't going your way, ask yourself, am I trying to control something that's beyond my control? If the answer is yes, take a step back. Breathe. Let go of the outcome and focus on what you can do in the moment. Focus on your response, your mindset, and your attitude. That's where your true power lies. The paradox of control, why letting go brings freedom. Now, let's dive into something that might seem like a paradox at first: the idea that letting go of control actually gives you more freedom. This sounds counterintuitive, right? We've been conditioned to believe that control equals power. The more we control, the safer we feel. But the reality is that this constant need to control everything around us is what traps us. The tighter we hold on, the more constrained we become. Think about it. How often do we try to control things to avoid discomfort? We plan our days meticulously. We try to control how others perceive us. We obsess over future outcomes because we believe that if we just hold on tightly enough, we can avoid pain, failure, or disappointment. But what does this really do? It adds layers of anxiety and stress to our lives. We become prisoners of our own need for control. Here's the paradox: when we let go of control, we actually free ourselves from the very things we're trying to avoid: stress, anxiety, and fear. By letting go, we're not giving up, we're simply acknowledging that we can't control everything, and that's okay. In fact, it's better than okay, it's liberating. When you stop trying to micromanage every outcome, you open yourself up to a sense of peace and a deeper sense of trust in life's process. Take a moment to reflect on this. What would happen if you stopped trying to control every aspect of your life? Think about a time when you were trying to force something: a relationship, a job, or even a personal goal. How much energy did you waste trying to make things happen? And did it actually work out the way you wanted? Often, the more we push, the more resistance we face. It's like trying to force a door open when it's meant to swing the other way. Here's where the magic happens: when you let go, life tends to unfold more naturally. This doesn't mean everything will go perfectly or that you'll never face challenges. Instead, it means that you'll be better equipped to handle those challenges when they arise, because you're no longer wasting energy fighting against the flow of life. You're no longer stuck in the mindset of "this has to happen the way I want, or else." You begin to trust that even if things don't go according to plan, you'll be okay. And that's real freedom. Philosophers and spiritual teachers across time have echoed this truth. Look at the teachings of Lao Tzu, who talks about the concept of wu wei, or effortless action, acting in harmony with the natural flow of life instead of against it. Or the Stoics, who emphasized focusing on what's within your control and letting go of what isn't. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're practical ways to reduce stress and live more peacefully. So, here's my challenge for you: what's one area of your life where you can start letting go of control? It could be something small, like letting go of the need to control how someone else behaves, or something larger, like releasing the need to control every detail of your future. Start small, and notice how much lighter you feel when you stop gripping so tightly. Because here's the truth: the more you let go of the things you can't control, the more space you create for what you can control: your mindset, your reactions, your perspective. And when you focus on those things, you'll find a sense of calm that no amount of control could ever bring. Embracing uncertainty: why control is an illusion. Let's take this even deeper. At the core of our need to control everything is a fear of the unknown. We're uncomfortable with uncertainty, and we think that by controlling our environment, the people around us, and even ourselves, we can somehow avoid the unpredictability of life. But here's the truth: most of us don't want to face control. Is an illusion. No matter how much we try to plan, prepare, or manipulate outcomes, life will always throw us curveballs. It's unpredictable by nature. And yet, we spend so much of our time and energy trying to mold it into something predictable. But what if, instead of trying to fight this unpredictability, we embraced it? What if we accepted that uncertainty is a natural part of life and learned to find peace within it? Here's a deep question for you: when was the last time you felt completely in control of your life? I'm willing to bet that even in moments when you thought you had everything under control, something unexpected happened. Maybe it was a sudden change in plans, an unforeseen challenge, or even a surprising opportunity. That's because life is inherently uncertain, and no amount of control can change that. So why do we cling to this illusion of control? It's because we equate control with security. We think that if we plan everything perfectly, we'll be safe from harm or disappointment. But the reality is that uncertainty is not something we can eliminate, it's something we must learn to live with. And here's the paradox: the moment we stop fearing uncertainty, it loses its power over us. I know what you're thinking: how can I possibly be okay with uncertainty? It sounds terrifying, right? But think of it this way: uncertainty is where all the possibilities of life exist. It's the space where growth happens, where new opportunities arise, where we learn and evolve. If everything in life were predictable, it would be stagnant. We'd never be challenged, we'd never change, and ultimately, we'd never truly live. Think about it: what if, instead of trying to control the future, you embraced it with curiosity? What if, instead of fearing the unknown, you saw it as a space for new adventures and experiences? This shift in perspective can be life-changing. When you stop needing to control the future, you start to live in the present. And in the present, there's peace. This doesn't mean you stop making plans or setting goals. It means you understand that plans can change, and that's okay. It means you trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way, even if it's not what you expected. And guess what? You've already been doing this your entire life. Every time something unexpected has happened, you've adapted, you've figured it out. So why not trust that you can continue to do that? Here's another way to think about it: life is like a river, constantly flowing, always changing. You can't stop the river from moving, but you can decide how you want to navigate it. You can fight against the current, or you can learn to flow with it. The choice is yours. The more you accept uncertainty, the more you'll realize that you never needed to control everything in the first place. And when you let go of that need, you'll find a sense of freedom and peace that's far more valuable than any illusion of control. Living with flow: how letting go leads to authentic happiness. As we come to the final part of this journey, let's tie everything together. We've talked about how trying to control everything is not only impossible, but also the root of much of our misery. We've explored the paradox of letting go and how embracing uncertainty can actually bring freedom. Now, let's talk about where all of this leads: authentic happiness, the kind of happiness that isn't tied to external outcomes or fleeting moments of success, but a deeper, more lasting sense of peace and joy. The first thing to understand is that real happiness doesn't come from controlling life, but from learning how to flow with it. When you stop trying to control every detail, you begin to experience life as it truly is: messy, unpredictable, but also full of beauty and opportunity. You stop resisting what happens and start embracing it. This is the essence of living in flow. Think about moments in your life when you felt completely at peace. Maybe it was a time when you were fully immersed in an activity you loved, or when you were spending time with someone without worrying about the past or future. In those moments, you weren't trying to control anything, you were simply being. That's the flow. It's when you're so present, so engaged in the here and now, that the need to control disappears. Here's something to reflect on: how often do you allow yourself to be fully present? Not thinking about what might happen next, not worrying about what has already happened, but just being in the moment. The more you live in the present, the more you'll realize that happiness isn't something you have to chase or control. It's something that arises naturally when you stop trying to bend life to your will. Now, I'm not saying that you should never plan for the future or set goals. Those things are important, but there's a big difference between setting a goal and becoming obsessed with controlling every step toward it. When you're in flow, you understand that while you can set a direction, you can't force the path. You do what you can, but you don't cling to a specific outcome. You adapt, you adjust, you accept. The ancient philosophers understood this well. The Stoics, for example, taught that while we can control our actions and attitudes, the results are often out of our hands. They believed that true peace comes from focusing on what we can control: our effort, our mindset, our reactions, while letting go of the rest. This is how you live in harmony with life, rather than in constant conflict with it. Here's a question to ponder: what would happen if you stopped trying to control how things turn out and started focusing on how you respond to whatever happens? How much lighter would you feel if you let go of the need to manage every outcome? When you shift your focus from controlling the future to being present in the moment, you open yourself up to a deeper sense of happiness, one that isn't shaken by the ups and downs of life. This brings us to the final, most profound insight: happiness is not something we get from controlling life. It's something we feel when we allow life to unfold and trust that we'll be okay, no matter what happens. This trust doesn't come from knowing what's going to happen next, but from knowing that you have the inner strength to handle whatever comes your way. The truth is, the more you try to control, the more you distance yourself from this happiness. You create tension, anxiety, and resistance. But when you let go, when you stop trying to control everything, you create space for joy, peace, and a sense of ease. You start to live in alignment with life, rather than constantly fighting against it. So here's the takeaway: the key to happiness is not in controlling life, but in letting go and trusting yourself. Trust that you're capable of handling whatever comes, and trust that life has its own rhythm and flow that's beyond your control. The more you let go, the more you'll discover that happiness was never something you had to chase or control. It's been within you all along, waiting for you to stop resisting and simply be. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, take a deep breath, let go of what you can't control, and start living with flow.